Universal Soldier Day of Reckoning, number 4. Like, come on, man. Like, this list is obviously biased. There's nobody in their right mind that would put this movie as a Van Damme movie in the top 5. Hey guys, welcome to the countdown. Top 25 best Jean-Claude Van Damme movies. Now, this is not my list. I'll actually link the article I got this from in the description below. I don't agree with this list. In fact, I think it's beyond stupid and downright criminal that Double Impact did not make the top 25. So I don't know if the author of the list has a personal vendetta against Sheldon Lettich or not. But anyway, let's go down this list. I'll provide my commentary. Make sure to watch the other video that I titled Van Damme's 25 Worst Movies. I'll link in the description below. But let's go down the list. Let's do the countdown and let's see how much this guy might have got right. Oh, comment below, by the way, of course. And let me know your favorites and your least favorites. If you like this kind of content, please help support the channel. Hit the like button, subscribe, share the video. Number 25, Sudden Death. See, I would put that in the top 20, maybe the top 15. This was like when Die Hard was so big, right? Everybody had to do like a Die Hard movie. It was like, this was Die Hard in, a hockey stadium. And then, Steven Skull, obviously, with Under Siege. It was Die Hard on a battleship. So everybody was doing these kind of films. Sudden Death actually holds up quite well, especially when you compare it to a more recent film, Michael Jai White's Welcome to Sudden Death. Well, oh my goodness, that's a train wreck. And I did a comparison video talking about the two in comparing those films. You guys should check that out. And it's just like, boy, we really had it great in the 90s as action movie fans. And we didn't realize it because this kind of underperformed, and this wasn't even thought to be a great one in the 90s. But when you revisit it, you're like, compared to what they do now with like Welcome to Sudden Death, you're like, wow, even the mediocre ones back then were like amazing classics. And everything today, so much today is just like complete trash. Don't even get me started about Hard Target and Hard Target 2 with Scott Adkins, which I'll comment on, I'm sure, shortly. One of the more memorable scenes in Sudden Death, by the way, when he did fight this mascot penguin. It's pretty funny. Number 24, Knockoff. Okay, here's that one where Van Damme was really kind of doing the comedic thing. Again, double team, he teamed up with Dennis Rodman. This one, he teams up with Rob Schneider. I actually appreciate this more than when it came out. And I did a whole video breaking it down. You guys should check that out. I'd put this in the top 15. Like, it was different, but it's fun. It's way better than most stuff he's did in the last 20 years. 23, Kickboxer Vengeance 2016. So Van Damme kind of took on the mentor Xeon character, and then Alam Musai, supposedly the new Van Damme, right? He played the Kurt Sloan character, and this one had Dave Bautista as Tong Po. So my opinion, this does not compare at all to the original. I was actually really disappointed watching this, I mean, it had a pretty good cast, like even GSP's in this thing. Not say he's like a great actor or anything, but just another cool guy that Van Damme inspired who became like an MMA champion, and it's almost cool to see them in a film together. But, oh man, like, there's just nothing great here, man. Like, the story's not great. It's not like the original Kickboxer was the most original story, but it was funner and more entertaining than this one. This one's obviously similar because it's like a reboot. And then, like, just there's nothing that sticks out. Even like the training montage and the training sequences hold nothing compared to the original. Like, they're just boring. There's really nothing I can really say good about this film other than, it had pretty good production values. But aside from that, very disappointed with it. Pound of Flesh. Okay, so this obviously dealt with the whole you wake up and your kidney's gone type thing. That one wasn't that memorable. I don't remember that much about it. For this to put it like above Double Impact, I mean, who the hell made this list, dude? To put it again, above Sudden Death, Nowhere to Run, like, come on, man. Like, that's ridiculous. This should be in, the 40s. I mean, maybe the 30s, but above Double Impact, that's just beyond ridiculous. Universal Soldier: The Return, 1999. This was going to mark Van Damme's return back in the theaters, because he did go straight to video with Desert Heat, and then Legionnaire, and then this came out, and this was going to be like his comeback, just like Exit Wounds was going to be Steven Skull's comeback in theaters. And Exit Wounds actually performed pretty well. Universal Soldier: The Return, not so much. Though it should be pointed out, This is a classic fight scene between Michael Jai White and Jean-Claude Van Damme. It's got that going for it. This was done by a first-time director. He used to be like a stunt coordinator, and I don't think he's directed anything since. So that kind of says something. And it just kind of felt like more of a live show from Universal Studios that they filmed as opposed to like an action film. It just had that quality. And they filled out the cast with some other notable people in the fitness community with Keanu Tom. And then, Stone Cold Steve Austin is like the wrestler. So, they definitely tried getting people known for like fitness or wrestling or martial arts. And they, not so much acting, which I think you do need to offset some of that casting with like real actors. But number 20, Death Warrant. This had the classic Van Damme, as you could tell by the editing, his fighting style. We had all of that. Had Paco from Bloodsport, who was a guy in prison. But anyway, Van Damme goes undercover in prison. The villain, Sandman, there's almost like a supernatural element. So this film's very unique. And it was written by David S. Goyer, who, went on to write like comic book films like Batman Begins, and I think The Dark Knight. I know he's associated with some of the Blade films, so it's not surprising he would write that kind of stuff, because he's definitely got a good imagination. This isn't just your typical, go undercover in a prison type film, because again, it has the character Sandman, which you see at the beginning, and then it has nothing to do with Sandman, like the story, and then he just appears later, but he's, this Van Damme's character is really going to investigate, like, why certain prisoners are getting killed, which doesn't really have anything to do with Sandman. It's almost like two different movies, But it's memorable, and it's classic Van Damme, and people loved that movie, and it was really popular back in the day. I remember renting it back in the day, and I loved it. Number 19, Dragon Eyes. Okay, so this was more of a Kung Lee movie. Van Damme did train and teach the Kung Lee character in this film, and that was pretty cool. I like those sequences. So, put this at number 19, like, the movie wasn't bad, but again, it wasn't really, like, a Van Damme movie. It was just the movie that he happened to be in. I wouldn't put it at 19 necessarily, and I sure as hell wouldn't put it above Double Impact. That's ridiculous, man. Kickboxer Retaliation. Okay, so another one. A sequel to, obviously the Kickboxer reboot. This time they even got more guys in there. They got like Christopher Lambert. They got the mountain guy from Game of Thrones. So they're getting like named people in these movies, and they got good production values. But quite frankly, I think they suck, man. And they are making a third one though. So these things are obviously probably making enough money, just based on the name alone. I'm at least Van Damme like is a part of it, but it does in no way compare to the original Kickboxer. But none of the Kickboxers do. If you think about like the ones with Sasha Mitchell, part 2 and 3 were like okay. Part 4 was horrible, and then part 5 with Mark Dacascos was horrible. And I think that was it until they started doing the reboots, which I think are also horrible. So at least we got the original Kickboxer, and that's it. But that's really all we need, man. And that's all you should watch. The Shepherd Border Patrol. Okay, so I think this might have been the first team up with Van Damme and Scott Adkins. No, actually, Assassination Games came out before that, I'm pretty sure. So anyway, this might have been their second team up. And they would team up in, some of the Universal Soldier films later. But this is another one where I just kind of felt it was kind of forgettable, like it just was. Replicant 2001, number 16. Okay, so this was a second film that Van Damme did with Ringo Lam, who, like I mentioned, Maximum Risk and then In Hell. And this is a one where Van Damme played two characters. He played a clone of himself, so in a way a twin if you think about it, but an evil twin and more of an innocent one who was like childlike. So this was good performance from Van Damme and kind of a fun movie, though if you really break the plot down, it doesn't make a lot of sense. You just got to go with it and, take it for what it is, because it is kind of entertaining, and I would definitely put that in the top 20. No Retreat, No Surrender, number 15. Not necessarily a Van Damme movie, though he was the standout, and they market it as a Van Damme movie because, he had a big enough role, and people watch it because of Van Damme. Like, I don't watch it because of Kurt McKinney, the star. I watch it because of Van Damme. So I remember seeing this back in the 80s, and I didn't even know who Van Damme was, but I was, like, quite impressed with him. And this came out before Bloodsport. This actually is one reason why Van Damme even got cast into Bloodsport, because like the guys like Sheldon Lettich and Frank Dukes and Mark Dissel, all seen Van Damme in this, and they're like, hey, this guy could play you, Frank. Frank Dukes. This guy could play you. He moves like you do, and he kind of looks like you. Even though he's like a smaller guy, Frank Dukes is a big guy. But yeah, this was really his breakout, and really kind of paved the way to getting him in Bloodsport, and then blowing up, international stardom. Number 14, Black Eagle. I don't know how the hell, again, you could put Black Eagle above Double Impact or even like Sudden Death or these other films. It's weird, man. So Van Damme's the villain. He's not the main guy. It's Sho Kosugi's the main guy. Classic Canon. Canon's an awesome company. Van Damme was with Canon for Bloodsport. He was with them for Cyborg, and then, Black Eagle. But Black Eagle is not a great movie. There are great scenes that Van Damme is in, including 2 fights with Sho Kosugi. But aside from that, it's just not that great of a movie. Speaking of Cyborg, though, number 13, this is one of those ones people love or hate. I'm in the love camp, and it is quite interesting. There's some interesting behind-the-scenes stuff. For example, I don't know if they're credited for it, but Sheldon Lettich and Jean-Claude Van Damme both edited the film. So, it does have that classic kind of Van Damme look and feel to it. It's obviously a low-production film. Albert Pyun, wrote it on the weekend. Plane ride, I believe, because he was supposed to either do the Masters of the Universe 2 sequel or Spider-Man, but Canon was having financial troubles, and I think they lost the rights to those, and they had already spent a lot of money on sets, so they figured, Albert Pyun, why, I still want to work on something, let me write something real quick, and that movie's got a really good history, and it became a cult classic. Like I said, I'm definitely in the love it camp for that one. Number 12, Lionheart. Not a bad rating, number 12. Personally, not only do I put it in the top 10, put it in the top 5, probably the top 3.
I'd say the wind's definitely blowing in our direction.
And some people even consider Van Damme's best movie, and I'm open to that. Definitely open to that. But minimum top 3. This was it was more than just like an underground fight film. Now obviously Van Damme and Sheldon were inspired by movies like Hard Times with Charles Bronson, which is a cool movie. But Lionheart, just like the Joshua character said, he's all heart. You really care about him. Like, he's fighting to get his niece a bike and to help out, his deceased brother's family. And he knows he's going to have to go back to the French Foreign Legion, but he's just trying to help him and make as much as he can while he's here on the run and doing these dangerous fights. So the motivation really you connect with, right? It's not like, oh, I'm just the baddest guy on the planet and I'm going to kick everyone's ass and that's why I'm doing these fights. It has nothing to do with that, and if it did, you wouldn't really connect with it as much or even remember it. But, all that aside, the fights, in my opinion, are amazing. I love the fights. I love the way they're cut, the pacing, everything. And, Frank Dukes obviously helped with the fight choreography. I believe Michel Kesey also did, who had a role in the film. And then Van Damme, I think, would always have some kind of input and say into the fight scenes, especially in his earlier work. But amazing film. This was the first feature that Sheldon Lettich directed. And they really hit it out the park. Obviously, we got to mention the Joshua character, too, like everybody's favorite sidekick.
He ain't got no money, motherfucker. I got the goddamn money, and I'll kick your ass. You ain't getting shit.
Great stuff. Expendables 2, okay, not a Van Damme movie, but he played a very memorable villain, and I'm glad he actually got a nice one-on-one fight with Stallone at the end, because that was Van Damme's idea. They weren't going to necessarily go mano-a-mano so much, but Van Damme's like, the fans need to see this, they want to see this, and he was right. He had a really good performance in this overall, and it was nice to see him in 2012 back in a big theater film. So that was great. Scott Adkins was in this, of course, as well as his sidekick. Universal Soldier, 1992, number 10. I think this deserves to be in the top 10. It's a fun action film. It's got its lighthearted little comedic moments.
The last wall is solid concrete. He's not going anywhere.
Well, go ahead, knock it down. What?
Great production values. You see Jean-Claude Van Damme and Dolph Lundgren teaming up in their prime. Great stuff overall. Pretty good story. Number 9, The Order. Well, that's interesting. I mean, so this, Sheldon Lettich directed. I don't think I'd put it in the top 10, but definitely one of Van Damme's better efforts in the 2000s. Definitely one of the better ones. It was fun. It was kind of like a little Indiana Jones type adventure. I enjoyed that one. I'd recommend you guys revisit that one. Number 8, Time Cop. Yeah, I could definitely put Time Cop in the top 10, no doubt. Probably one of his best films as far as like, bigger studio production values, good sci-fi, fun story. But again, if you break it down, it doesn't really make sense because there's only so many of these time traveling machines. So it's like you kind of don't really have to police it so much. Just, keep track of which machines are out there and don't let people use them. Anyway, fun movie. I remember seeing that in the theater, actually. Good times. Number 7, Universal Soldier Regeneration. So Van Damme and Dolph Lundgren would, of course, team up again. This was pretty good, and they had some great action sequences, but as far as like a film as a whole, I'm not into it as much. I do like the action sequences, but I would not put it at number 7. Number 6, Hard Target. That's not a bad rating. I would definitely put it in the top 5, but this was one of his funnest films, playing Chance Boudreaux. Very memorable. And, they had other films like this, too. I think Ice-T had a movie where he was, like, getting hunted, right? They had movies going back decades kind of with that story, but I think this was the funnest one. The most stylish, John Woo directed. So this is, like, perfect Van Damme right here with the mixture of the slow-mo and the karate and the gunplay. I would put this up there definitely with a double impact type film, type feel, type look. Those two are just really amazing. Oh, and then of course, in 2016, Scott Adkins would do Hard Target 2, and like, man, I think that's worse than Welcome to Sudden Death. So again, it just reminds you of like, look what we had in the 90s, and look at what we have now, and they just ruin the name, the franchise. Like you could have done a cool Hard Target 2, a really cool one. And then you could have done a third one, but instead you made such a shitty one. If the third one ever comes out, like, I just think the audience would be turned off right from the get-go, myself included. It's really a shame what they did to that, Anyway, it just goes to show, man, Van Damme was doing amazing things in the 90s, and as successful as Michael J. White and Scott Adkins have been in this kind of action martial arts genre, like, the movie quality have just suffered so much. Make the 80s and 90s great again, right? Anyway, number 5, JCVD, 2008. This was great, career-defining. Even Nicolas Cage said Van Damme is a great actor. Nicolas Cage, by the way, I think a lot of people consider one of the greatest actors of all time. And there's even people that say, well, he's really the only one doing something new and unique and original with acting. And for him to basically give a compliment to Van Damme based on the acting, it's definitely more meaningful than just some average guy giving Van Damme a compliment. Though most people watching this will say, yeah, Van Damme's a really good actor in this. So he showed like a lot of emotion, a lot of heart, comedy, everything. Good action in here too. Love JCVD. Great movie. Universal Soldier Day of Reckoning, number 4. Like, come on, man. Like, this list is obviously biased. There's nobody in their right mind that would put this movie as a Van Damme movie in the top 5. Like, whoever wrote this must know the director or must know Scott Adkins, who ended up taking over the franchise. Like, there's huge bias in this. Now, I'm not saying it's a horrible movie. It's pretty dark. It's almost like an action horror movie in some ways. But it ain't in the top 5, man. The Quest, number 3. Like, I like The Quest, but come on, man. I don't think anybody considers The Quest better than Lionheart. Which, funny enough, you have a lot of the same players, right? The Mongolia guy, played by Michel Kesey's brother, Abdul Kesey, who is also Attila in Lionheart. Then, obviously, you got The Association with Sheldon Lettich. Now he didn't write this or anything, but he did help kind of get it made and even recommended Frank Dukes, as far as, like, the story guy. And I think Frank Dukes might have done preliminary fight choreography, though the real fight choreographer was Stephen Lambert, who I interviewed, in several videos, and was even talking about a funny incident involving Frank Dukes at a luncheon, where I guess Frank Dukes claimed he was a fight choreographer, but, so if he was a fight choreographer during pre-production in his head, maybe he was, but in Stephen Lambert's head, because he was there during the production the whole time doing the fight choreography with the guys, then, that would be an untrue statement. But again, it just kind of, just kind of like how you define it, man, and how you look at it. And there were the two other guys at the luncheon, by the way, a guy named Doran and a guy named Alon that I interviewed on the channel, and they talked about that whole story too. And everyone's got like a different version, man, just like any story, from someone's own perspective, etc. And I try to give you as much as I can, which is what I think makes my channel a little more unique. Like let's hear the story from multiple sides, man, and then we'll get closer to the truth somehow. But anyway, The Quest, when it first came out in the theaters, I liked it. I didn't love it. But now, comparing it to stuff that came over the last 20 years, I love it. It's great. Because, again, like, the bar has just gotten so low over the last 20 years. So even these mediocre films back in the 90s, like, stand, so much higher. And they just stand out compared to, like, stuff over the last 20 years. So, I like The Quest. Number 2, Kickboxer. Yeah, I think most people put that in the top 5, if not the top 3 for Van Damme. You got Van Damme and his good buddy Michelle Kesey, who played Tong Po. Funny enough, little trivia, Tong Po was credited as himself because he really wanted you to think it was a real guy. Like a lot of the things like people complain about Kickboxer. It's like, look, he's in Thailand. The movie's called Kickboxer. He's not even doing Muay Thai per se. He's more doing classic Van Damme karate, which on screen looks way better than Muay Thai, so I can't blame him for wanting to go that route. But, funny enough, his brother in the film, Dennis Alexio, was a real world champion kickboxer. And, this was a good one. Way better than the reboots. Number 1, Bloodsport. Okay, so a lot of people consider that Van Damme's best. I put that right up with Lionheart. This had the whole team intact, with Sheldon Lettich and Frank Dukes and Van Damme working together, making magic. This was just lightning in a bottle. This was one of those films that, I don't necessarily think you could just find people and pay them to make something like this. This was like a true labor of love. And Van Damme couldn't even necessarily do this 10 years into his career. This was the one that it was all that desire that bottled up. And, there's frustration, there's desire, there's passion. It's all bottled up and just comes out. You can't get performances or movies like this that often. I mean, you got it with Stallone in Rocky 1, you got it with Van Damme in Bloodsport, but there's certain things going on in these guys' lives and certain more involvement than just the acting that they have in these films that make them the classics that they are. So every once in a while you capture lightning in a bottle. This movie happened to do that, but it wasn't without its controversy, related to Frank Dukes and a lot of that, which I'm not going to get into, but you know a lot about that if you watch the channel. But Bloodsport, yeah, I mean, I could definitely say deserving to be number 1. Bloodsport 2 actually isn't bad either with Daniel Bernhardt. That one's actually not bad. It actually went to the theater, had theatrical quality, production values, pretty good story. Daniel Bernhardt looked pretty good in it. Part 3's where I kind of went downhill, and then Part 4, that was not good, and there's always talks about doing a reboot of Bloodsport, but really, how good's it gonna be, man? It'll probably be like the reboot of Kickboxer, where I'm sure it'll make money, I'm sure it'll have good production values. People will want to watch it just based on the name and the franchise, but I just don't see him recapturing that magic. Like, we got something really special for a whole multitude of reasons. But anyway, that's the list. Let me know what you guys think in the comments below.